Oh, yeah. I like this.
Yes, sir.
Hey, everybody. This is Keith Butler with my co-host, Jeffrey Lowe.
All right.
And we'd like to welcome you all to the Hook Podcast, coming to you from the Six Hole Studio here in Detroit, Michigan. And we're going to talk a little more sports with you.
Yeah, on the lovely Detroit golf course, a private club here in the city of Detroit.
Yeah, we were looking out there, and we were talking about the golfers, and it kind of, sparked something in Jeff's mind.
Well, we talked, Rock Financial golf tournament is played on this golf course, and my former coach, baseball coach, who's now the golf coach, I'd like to introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jake Robinson, Coach Jake Robinson of Wiley College. Coach, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Jeff. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak to you concerning our program here at Wiley College.
We thank you for joining us today. So Jeff was telling me off air before we got in touch with you that you used to coach baseball and then you swung over to golf. Why would you do that?
Well, actually, it was an opportunity. The president approached me here at Wiley College. He had kind of been conversing with me off and on for the last couple of years, And actually, I got out of coaching. I've been out of coaching about 15 years. And I opened up my own business. I used to also officiate Division I basketball and baseball. And it just gave me an opportunity to kind of get away from the game a little bit. At that time, minorities were not given the same opportunity as far as making a decent living in the sport. Mm-hmm. So I just felt like it was a good transition for me to step out. And I took a lot of my money and invested in rental property. So I have about 25 houses.
Wow.
And so things are working up for me. So then I felt like I just need to step back into it. So I played golf. I've been playing golf for about 25 years. I love the sport, and I feel like I can add a contribution to the sport.
Okay.
Coach, golf and baseball, some similarities. Got a white ball in golf.
Got swinging motion?
Swinging motion. Some of the techniques are some of the fundamentals that you use to coach baseball. Can they transfer over to golf?
That's correct. But
okay.
the opportunity that I feel like it's important to try to mentor in this situation is giving kids an opportunity to branch out into other sports. Mm-hmm. Sometimes here in Texas, and it's basically nationwide, these kids nowadays are so focused on football and basketball.
Yeah.
They don't give lifetime sports an equal opportunity. Mm-hmm. That's one of the reasons why I'm stepping off into that profession.
Okay, you said a lifetime sport is that's what golf is, and what do you mean by a lifetime sport? You can play forever.
Well, golf is a lifetime sport in the sense that you can play it till you get 70, 80 years old.
Oh yeah,
it's not a problem. When you get tired of walking, you can get in a golf cart and ride the golf cart. Mm-hmm. You have online and health conditions that doesn't affect you because you're actually still working and keeping your blood pressure down, and also physically, you're moving every muscle in your body, so you can play it year round.
Mm. So now, what's it like coaching golf at a HBCU? Tiger Woods, most famous black golfer,
Stanford.
Mm-hmm. What's it like golfing? Coaching golf in Texas at Wiley College.
Okay, it's really no difference because coaching is coaching, and you get an opportunity to excel and work with young kids and give them an opportunity to step out in a different atmosphere. A lot of kids are not in tune to golf at this point in time just because you got your other sports are so dominant. But then all of a sudden when they get injured or they step out and feel like that they're not able to play at a high level, then they branch off into other sports like golf. And this is what I'm finding out in recruiting. The same thing applies to males as females. I'm also the head coach in both young ladies as well as men's uh, here at Wiley College. So I coach the girls and the men here.
Now you're in a spot in Texas. Football is king around the world, but in Texas, football is the czar. We know that football in Texas is just huge. How do you get kids outside of those who are injured and who can't play football or basketball anymore? How do you recruit them just to how do you get kids interested in playing golf?
Okay, one of the things that I'm finding out is the fact that as far as recruiting goes, I used a technique that I found to be very successful for me when I was in baseball. I recruit in predominantly black cities, minority cities, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a lot of my players still very actively involved in baseball. And just like in Detroit, I've already contacted Jeff Lowe, and he's turned me on some people in Dayton, Ohio, and in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And I make contact with him, with those individuals. And you also run into situations. I have a very productive situation there in Atlanta, Georgia. I found out that in Atlanta, Georgia, you have a predominantly black school still there. And what I'm saying is, I've got a young man that played for me named Billy Harris, and he's gotten me a list of predominantly black high schools there in Detroit, as well as Atlanta, Georgia, East St. Louis, Chicago, and other areas. Also in California, I recruited out of California. Also, I recruited out of Dayton, Ohio. And I got a very good athlete that's already turned me on named Lester Stroll, which he was the pitching coach for the Chicago Cubs, and he just retired. And he sent me a couple of names of some kids. So it's a network, you know. And
right.
One of the things that I'm finding out that's good for me right now, I've got to go back and network with those athletes. And through that process, get a streamline of potential prospects going into high school, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So I have something to pull from.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically use that same philosophy when I was the baseball coach there at Wiley College. Also, I coached baseball at Kentucky State University and Tennessee State.
Okay.
Yeah. Coach, you know, golf in inner cities, like you said, you were going around to different inner cities. When it comes to the sport of golf, especially in inner city public schools or inner city schools, period, the kids are not being introduced to that sport on the high school level or lower, on the middle school level, and they're not being introduced to the sport except through maybe television. Tiger Woods has always been a big influence, especially in the African American community, along with the and his name escapes me right now. The other golfer, he was in the PGA tournament this week. I forgot his name. Wow. But anyway, I know it's a tough, very tough road to recruit young men and young women who are not just golfers, but good golfers. You want a level of golfer that you could go in and compete on, right?
Yeah. Why should the Tiger Woods go to you instead of Stanford or somewhere else? I mean, piggybacking off of what you're saying, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, guys. I think one thing that we all have to be very realistic about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is a process. Yes, I'm not going to get the top athlete,
Mm-hmm.
but Michael Jordan wasn't the top athlete.
That's true.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you have to go into it with an understanding
Right.
that when you're looking at an athlete, you're looking at where would he be at in 2 years? Where would he be at in 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at the potential of the athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
To me, I think that's important to look at because and I think Jeff could tell you the answer. Where I'm coming from on this is there were a lot of kids that I gave an opportunity when I was a baseball coach that were not seasonal athletes, were not highly recruited athletes.
Mm-hmm.
But we brought those young men in with the idea, where would they be at in a year? What would they be at in 2 years? And give them an opportunity to excel at a level by playing a competitive schedule. And we played a very competitive schedule in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we had a philosophy. Philosophy is you do it your way in the fall. And that's the same principle I'm going to take to God.
Okay.
You do it your way, and then after that, I'm going to show you what it's going to take to play at the next level. Mm. And the next level is, where do you want to be as a person?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be in the classroom or on the field. Now, that individual person will be evaluated when they come in, and then at that point in time, we sit down as an individual and we discuss their strengths, we discuss their weaknesses, and now when the spring comes around, now we're playing what we call for real.
Mm-hmm.
And by that time, we are still working out during off season. We're lifting weights, we're training, and we are having sessions, study sessions, and the same thing we're going to have in golf. So I'm not going to be naive enough to say that I'm not going to get the best athlete, because I'm a firm believer it's what you make it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Okay.
When you step into a situation, you step into it with the understanding, where can I put this person at a year down the road, 2 years down the road?
Mm-hmm. You know,
and
Coach,
then, yeah, go ahead.
I appreciate that. When you said you look at the potential,
Mm-hmm.
that's a big statement to me, because I think a lot of a lot of big colleges always go for the 5-star athletes. Mm-hmm. They want the top of the line off the bat, and they won't settle for anything less. But here, you're willing to take a student, whether they're 5-star or 2-star, because you see something in them, and that's got to be very important for a student athlete, or just an athlete, whether he's academic or not, to come to a place where the coach is willing to look at you for who you are and look at you for what you can be. And that's, Jeff and I were talking earlier about going to HBCUs and how our teachers and stuff are really geared toward us as a student, as opposed to going to bigger white colleges. And what you just said kind of backed up my argument. And I really, really appreciate that from you. It was an excellent quote, and I love it, man.
Right.
Just great.
Everybody can't be a Harold Varner
right.
coming out of college.
That's just great.
And
it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen that way. And to me, that's the challenge as a coach that we have to develop. And piggyback into what I just said is we also had what we call a red shirt program. If a young man felt like that he could make the varsity team, we'd redshirt him, and we redshirt him for a year, so he still has 5 to play 4. And golf is the same basic principle. Mm-hmm. We come in, we develop, and then we sit down and man to man, and we talk, well, if you think you can match up with the kids that we have, no problem. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm willing to sacrifice giving you another year of eligibility. You hone your skills in, and you get yourself where you feel like you can compete. So now, when Jeff Lowe leaves, I still got kids coming, stepping up and saying, of course, now it's my time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that developmental phase. Because to me as a coach, it doesn't do any good for me to go out and recruit what I consider top athletes, and I'm good for 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. Then after that, I'm back at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I was a coach at Wiley, one of the things that we felt like was good for us is once we start to win, you can't stop.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because we got kids waiting and hungry to get up in the slot. We got kids that when they get injured, we got other kids to step up and being just as an active part. Now, the problem comes in is that if Jeff Lowe decides that he doesn't want to go to class, then we rest Jeff Lowe. Now the next guy in line, well, where's he at on the depth chart? There he is, Steve Brown. Steve, it's your responsibility not to let Jeff back in. Now, if you let him back in, that's on you. That means if you don't go to class, then the next guy on the list, he steps up. You see, that's a basic principle by which I'm going to build a program on. Because I think it's important for us to understand that I've got to be able to tell Jeff Lowe's mother that, hey, look, he's doing great, but he's not going to class. So his values are not the same. So we're looking for is a well-rounded young man that can get an education here and play a competitive schedule in baseball.
Yeah.
And this is the philosophy by which that I think all the kids that I recruited out of Detroit and other areas, these young men came in with a good, solid foundation and got their degree. And to me, that's what I can say.
Right.
You know, giving that person an opportunity to understand. It's not easy because some of them are going to be challenged. Some of them think they're better than what they are. And all of a sudden, they get out there and find out, ooh, man, this is a different world. Yes, it is. Golf. You got to adjust to the wind. You got to adjust to the climate. And plus, you got to learn how to shape the ball, hit the ball left, hit the ball right.
Right.
And you also have got to think the game. Is it best for me to, behind the tree, is it best for me to hit the ball out in the fairway or try to hit a ball between the tree? No, hit the ball out in the fairway. You hit it over in the wood. Take your penalty, and let's move on. And these are kind of things that we will work on during the off season. Now, I can't sit here and tell you that is that coach where he came from out of high school, is he teaching him in that? And I don't think they are. I don't think they're going as in-depth as I'm going to have to go into it.
Right.
And this is a process that I think is important to teach our young men how to be leaders in the classroom, at home, or anywhere they go. Anywhere they go. And this is the philosophy that I'm going to take with us when we go out and recruit these young men. We've got a pretty good, I've probably got, I was counting it the other day, I've probably got about 30 kids that I've talked to. I haven't signed anybody yet because I'm a believer that patience is a virtue. It talks about that in the scriptures. You know, you're trying to let them get out of school, let them make decisions, and then you narrow your choices down. Narrow your choices down and give those kids a process of, now, we talked to you on numerous occasions. Now you tell me where you want to be at. You know, and it's not going to be easy.
Right.
But how can you get where you want to go and it's too easy? You know, right?
Hey, Coach,
That's not a good.
I want to ask you this also. You know, golf in every major college, Division I, Division II, Division III, is a non-revenue producing sport. How would one actually pay for a golf scholarship, or not a scholarship, but pay for their education and their golf at the same time, being that it's not a revenue producing sport? I know a lot of golf programs do not offer scholarships to golfers.
Okay, we do offer scholarships.
Okay.
All scholarships are based on need. It breaks it down to possibly 4 or 5 different categories. That's just like it was in baseball. Baseball was not a revenue sport either.
Right.
When you look at it, the bottom line of it. So what we do is we require all of our kids to fill out the financial aid package.
Okay.
We require all of our young men to fill out what we call, take the SAT and the ACT. And depending on how they score, they receive X amount of dollars. Well, in Texas, you automatically get X amount of dollars just because you're from Texas. Okay, then if the kid doesn't qualify, he's not from Texas, we subsidize that with scholarship. And then at that point in time, we have certain entities with private donations and stuff like that there. So this is the area that we look at to see where this young man fits at. And I think, Jeff, you can verify this, is that when you came down here to Wiley, you had to fill out financial aid package.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes those kids don't qualify. Sometimes, most of the times, they do.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The same thing applies is that we have a work study program.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on a process now where some young men that I'm looking at, they can work at a golf course and be paid through work study and learn the skill well enough to whereas that they can go out and maybe manage a golf course one day. So this is one of the areas that we're tapping into now. And I've been exposed to, and I just about got the specifics worked out, on it. So those are some of the avenues that we're basically approaching this from. And Jeff, as you know, you got some of your parental minority churches there in Detroit
Mm-hmm.
that's willing to step out and say, hey, this guy's from the United Methodist Church, or for whatever reason, and we've got some money set aside because now they want to help this young man along the way, as well as young ladies along the way.
Right.
So there are areas out here. I had a donor the other day. We're going to get together next week, and he's already called me and said, well, Jacob, what can we do to help?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a member of a private association, Trailblazers, here in Longview. We want to help. What can we do?
Right.
So we're going to get together next week. So the word is out.
Okay.
But the thing we've got to do is not allow ourselves to get in a negative mindset because we don't find him. But we just got to keep looking. That's what I'm relying on some of my past athletes to let's just stay on the course.
Right.
I found you. Why can't I find somebody else?
Right. Hey, you touched on it earlier, Coach, about some of the other opportunities that exist in the sport of golf. Everybody's not going to be on the PGA Tour, okay?
Right.
Caddies make a whole bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about some of the other opportunities that exist in golf.
Okay, now they have what they call the First Tee program.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working in the First Tee program, and where they actually start training young kids, and it's sponsored association by the PGA. And the First Tee program allows a person to go out and work with young kids to train them. Well, if you're training, you can offer private lessons, and private lessons everywhere in the United States is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big thing. And then in the First Tee program, it puts you in a situation where you learn how to what we call work in the shop, and you're handling money. So you're learning how to manage a golf course. You're selling shirts, you're putting on grips and stuff like this here. So
right.
That puts you in the market of managing a golf course.
Mm.
And it's a wide open field. It's a wide open field, but a lot of people are not exposed to it.
Right.
But when you look at the big picture of networking means just, hey, man, you mean you're working at a golf course? Yeah, sure am, man. I went through college, worked 4 years at a golf course. Now I know how to manage a golf course. You got to learn how to manage the grounds, manage the greens, and learn basically how it's manual labor, but it's not manual labor. It's not manual labor in the sense that it's not something that you can't do because now you're a supervisor.
Right.
Same thing applies in baseball. You got guys making big money just managing the field.
Yeah.
They got 4 or 5 guys working for them.
Mm-hmm.
All he's doing is just pointing left and right. Hey, man, we need to do this. We need to do that. We need to do it. And he's just marketing himself.
Okay, Coach. Let me shift a little bit. Coming down to the last parts of the show. Why is it important for minority students to go to HBCs like Wiley, Tuskegee, Morehouse, and Spelman? Why is that important for them? What's your opinion?
I try not to use the word why is it important. Education is an education. Mm-hmm. When I was coaching baseball at Wiley, and the other schools. I said, well, you first need to tell me what are your values here? Are you, when you couldn't go to the white schools, where were you going?
Mm-hmm.
They were going to HBC. So where is your best opportunity? And kids hadn't been educated to that. What they're looking at, and well, you know, I look up in the stand and I see 30, 40,000 folks in the stand. I said, okay. I said, but how does that make a living? How are you going to make a living? Worry about how many people in the stand. If you have the talent, you have the education, that you can take to the bank. And that's pretty cut and dry.
Right.
You know, do you go to a classroom and you have a social security number and you got 400 kids in your class, and that's all you are, a social security number? You go to a smaller institution. Now you're a part of 15, maybe 20 people. You learn how to connect. You learn how to interact with people. And those skills will carry you that you know. Well, you know, Jeff, how many people did you meet at Wiley College that you either talk to now or you are still connected?
Mm-hmm.
And see, those are the processes that you got to try to educate our kids on,
Right.
to understand how important it is. Do you want to get lost in a number?
Mm.
A number means you're in this number 406. But do you want to go somewhere where you are a president of your class? You
So-
interact, you join a sorority, you join a fraternity, and those people connect with you to the point whereas if you get an opportunity to connect with them the rest of your life, to me that's a lifetime situation.
Oh, yes.
Somewhere where they know your name as opposed to, like you said, just Social Security.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Coach, can you give us your information again if somebody wants to contact you regarding golf or education at Wiley College?
Yes.
Give me your information again.
I have a web page, and my email is Jacob. It's JROBINSON 2 at Wiley WILEYC education EDU.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give that to us again, please?
Yes, JROBINSON 2, and you got an A, Wiley WILEYC EDU.
Okay.
And my personal phone number is 903-926-3763.
Okay. Thank you, Coach. You know, we appreciate you taking time out to talk to us and to enlighten us on you know, the sport of golf and Wiley College and so forth like that in the recruitment phase. You know, everybody out there, if you're interested in it and you think that Wiley College might be a good place for you to go, hit up the coach at his information and go down there and have a good time. Learn life, experience it, and enjoy it. We're going to sign off now.
Coach, thank you very much for your time.
Hey, I appreciate you guys.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Every little bit helps, man.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
All right. I'm Keith Butler and my co-host Jeffrey Lowe. And we'd like to thank you all for listening to The Hook. And remember, if you have any information you want to get, you know, contact us. I can be reached at KEBU, the number 10, at yahoo.com. That's KEBU, the number 10, at yahoo.com. And Jeff can be reached
At J Lowe, that's JLOWE, J Lowe 1215 at gmail.com. That's J Lowe, JLOWE at gmail.com.
Yeah, we'd like to thank you all for listening again. Stay tuned in. And remember,
Hey, the next time when somebody asks you, said, hey, where'd you get that information from? Just tell them, I caught it on the hook.
all right, everybody. Have a good time. Thanks for listening. Peace.